can tell you all that as an ex-transgender person, individual, please listen. This LGBTQ plus movement is targeting, preying on, and devouring your children through more avenues than you can ever imagine. I spent over 30 years in the LGBTQ cult and 20 years trapped in the confusion of transgenderism, but I never could have survived it if my mother had encouraged or embraced it. I never could have survived it if my mother or my family would have celebrated it and promoted that death style right along with me. If you want your children to survive this onslaught of debauchery, then you better get them out of the public government schools. They are not public schools. The public pays for them, but they are government institutions. And right now they are indoctrination centers. Get your children help if they are gender confused or dysphoric. Get them away from this cult that is hell-bent on sexualizing them and victimizing them. This is not a joke. You have absolutely no clue of the agenda or the diabolical reach of the LGBTQ plus cult. It goes wide and far. This TransQueer cult, it goes wide and far, right? Because why? Because it masks something much bigger than itself. And the ones that it protects are just pawns. They're pawns being positioned by the ones that are actually funding and pushing this agenda or this madness. Please wake up, sheeple. What the heck is going on? Pay attention. This is some dangerous, dangerous roads that you are allowing your children and your grandchildren to walk down. It's even more dangerous road if you are marching down that road with them. So don't put your child on the little yellow school bus to hell tomorrow morning, because they're only teaching them that some men have vaginas, some women have penises, gender is fluid, that they can be anyone or anything they feel or think they want to be or are told that they are, right? Where they're telling them that there is no God and that two mommies or two daddies is equivalent to one daddy and one mommy. Where they're telling your babies that children are sexual from birth and that it is okay to experiment and try new and different things. And don't even get me started on the CSE, the Comprehensive Sex Education, or the actual LGBTQIA cult curriculum. If you want to protect your child, if you want to raise your child in the way in which they should go, then you'd better homeschool or find someone who can homeschool them for you. I'm not going to debate, nor do I argue. I am just stating some facts. And I know that many of you out there are not pleased with these facts, but that is what it is. You do your own research and stop allowing people to tell you what is or what isn't happening. There is no shortage of information out there right now, people. We are at the end of the rope, and ignorance is now an active choice. So sacrifice your children, sacrifice your babies, or you make sacrifices for your babies. My focus, my goal is to bring the good news to this lost and broken and perverted world, right? Very perverted world, while also exposing the darkness of the movements and causes that have bamboozled, tricked, abused, and used individuals struggling with brokenness and pain and hurt and anguish. They're using them as pawns in their wicked agenda of indoctrinating, preying on, and devouring the weak, the weary, the challenged, and the vulnerable, especially the children. Listen, don't be fooled. Don't be tricked. Don't allow yourself to be used as a pawn to promote pride or confusion or perversion or sexualization of children or immorality or transgenderism or delusions or dysphoria or this identity crisis that is enveloping society and culture and your children right along with it. Don't go to a trans-identified individual if you want to find out if being trans-identified is normal or not. Find one who has walked in it, who has lived it, who became it, and who overcame it. Know that you are loved with an everlasting love, and that the mercy of God Almighty is available to you. And He can reveal to you all that He has for you and all that you've been created for. Your children are wonderfully and beautifully made, and nobody has ever been born in the wrong body, ever in history. Beloved, I'm going to share an email that I sent to St. George, Maine, to the entire town. Every email that was on the town hall website received this email. I'm here to provide information. Information you can utilize or not. That depends on you and your own agenda. This email is being sent to every single person associated with St. George that had an email on or through the town's website. We all know that the TransQueer agenda is real and that it's not going to cease fire just because of an executive order or rules and regulations. This agenda has its talents embedded into the public government system, society, and culture more than any other movement. And I was the targeted, desensitized, victimized, sexualized, and criminalized child victim of this movement. If you just give me 1 second, I just see that there is sorry. I just had to go delete somebody from the chat. You always get these stooges that jump on. There we go. But my moderator isn't in, so I had to moderate myself. So my apologies. I am David. Back to the email. I was the targeted, desensitized victim, victimized, sexualized, and criminalized child victim of this movement. I was the suicidal trans kid that is always tossed into the debates and arguments to further the TransQueer agenda. But I also became a suicidal trans adult because affirmation, transition, acceptance, wrong sex hormones, diversity, equity, and inclusivity do not remove depression, trauma, pain, brokenness, confusion, or suicidal ideation. The latter only worsens with the former. Suicidal ideation is emotional blackmail. As a former member and advocate of and for the lgbTQ TransQueer movement for 30 plus years, I speak into this on a level that many cannot and many refuse to do, merely due to their shame, guilt, or the fear of ruining their reputation. Exposing this agenda is one of my only goals. My first attempt to take my life was at age 13. I overdosed on pills. On wrong sex hormones at age 14, HIV/AIDS positive at age 14, I was targeted, sexualized, sex trafficked, criminalized, and perverted by this cult of death, suicide, and pederasty. The comorbidities and underlying issues youth suffer now are the basis for the abnormal condition of mental confusion, which is the definition for dysphoria, for which most of them suffer. Not all of them, though. Wrong sex hormones at age 14, emotionally and mentally unstable by age 15, sterile by age 20, osteopenia by age 25, osteoporosis by age 30, also heart palpitations, severe osteoarthritis, HRT, hormone repair or replacement therapy, wrong sex hormones, right, equal irreversible damage. Please do your part to stop this assault on children, society, culture, women, biology, and mankind whenever and wherever opportunity arises. We will not be getting another chance if we squander away the reprieve that we have been given. Now, look, I hate politics and I am not a Trumper, but I know what a reprieve looks like. So, whether you agree with him or not, this is the time to defeat this cult, this agenda, and rescue these children. The war is not over. This cult won't stop because of an executive order, Title IX, or bills that may be passed to keep males out of female spaces, including sports. Ultimately, and please hear me out, the only solution is to see this TransQueer explosion as the mental anguish and deviation that it is. Then, for the individuals that have been conditioned and lied to or indoctrinated by deception and perversion, they must be given the mental health care they so desperately need. Many parents are transitioning their own children, brainwashing them. Unparents do this. Parents don't do that. Parents protect and safeguard their child from perversion, confusion, angst, trauma, and death. Now, I was trans identified for 20 years. I didn't just live a lie, I became the lie. I was perverted, trafficked, and severely abused by trusted adults, teachers, counselor, neighbors, a parent of a friend, relatives, and others. I eventually became an agent for my handlers, and I assisted in the recruiting of other youth. I did so as a youth and as a young adult. I know this movement from the inside out. I know how it operates. I am telling you that this movement will destroy anyone in its path, especially the children. Please ask yourself these very important questions. Why are some politicians and lawmakers so intrigued by this movement? How are educators or anyone that claims to care about children pushing this agenda? What could bring a mother or father to actually sacrifice their child mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, and medically to this cult? I can tell you how this cult has gained legal, social, and cultural protections. If you think it worthy of a little more of your time, but if not, then please at least heed the words you've already read, whether you believe them or not. Because ultimately, in due time, every single one of us will be held accountable for what we have done and what we have not done. As in not protecting children from unparents, from trans activist teachers, from counselors, etc. If you choose to go further, then know the details are not pleasant, but they are truthful, factual. As a former trans prostitute, most of my clients were men in power. Many of my clients were AGP, autogynephiles, transvestites, fetishists, perverted sadomasochists, and into bondage discipline, furries, bestiality, etc. These men were judges, lawyers, CEOs, influential local authorities, law officers, fire chief, etc., politicians, lawmakers, bill writers, even a few actors from Hollywood. While gender dysphoria or gender identity disorder is a mental disorder in and of itself, there are other mental disorders that fall under the same trans umbrella and protection, because the individuals suffering from mental and sexual disorders fall under the trans umbrella. This is why we have so many men identifying as transgender, but then claiming to be lesbians or assaulting women and children in private female-only spaces. AGP or autogynephile, what is that? Those are males that are sexually aroused by the thought of themselves as women, but do not actually want to become women and or wearing women's clothing, especially undergarments. Transvestites, males and or females that are sexually aroused by wearing opposite sex clothing. Fetishes, a form of sexual behavior in which gratification is linked to an abnormal degree to a particular object, activity, part of the body, etc. It's also known as partialism. So what is a paraphilia? A paraphilia is a condition that's characterized by abnormal sexual desires, typically involving extreme and or dangerous activities. Some examples of paraphilias are pedophilia, rape, autogynephilia, bestiality, transvestism, and this list can go on and on and on. Those who suffer with these conditions, these paraphilias, are also those who defend, promote, push, encourage, and celebrate the agenda of the TransQueer cult. These are the individuals that are fighting viciously to be allowed into women's bathrooms, spas, locker rooms, showers, clubs, and even women's prison cells. These are the individuals defending this agenda, not to mention the poor children, right, that are being exploited by their mothers or fathers to further their unparents' need for attention. Like what's going on in St. George, a mother transing her child. She is an unparent. She shouldn't even have a child. Pro-trans judges, politicians, lawmakers, CEOs, actors, influential, wealthy people, and let's not forget the medical professionals, are not standing against the immorality of transitioning, mutilating, sterilizing, or butchering children, or even allowing males into female spaces because they are saturated in perversions of lewd and lascivious deviance themselves. The immoral find it extremely hard, if not impossible, to stand up against immorality, even if they may disagree with it. Just look at how pornography has enveloped the world. Those individuals suffer from perversion. When one dwells in perversion or in immorality, they cannot bring themselves to stand up against immorality out of fear that their own perversions be revealed. These men hide their perversions. And again, if you're just tuning in, this is part of an email that I sent to the entire town of St. George, Maine, to every member of the town official, councils, whatever. These men hide their perversions while they promote, push, fund, firm, encourage, and celebrate these attacks on women and children. This includes voting to keep explicit materials in classrooms and libraries, right? This includes pushing bills and passing laws that further the TransQueer cult agenda, or even affirming a child's mental disorder by chemically sterilizing them with potent drugs, poisons, mind you, and procedures. These things all give extra special rights to mentally disabled individuals. Wrong sex hormones are psychotropic drugs that alter brain function, development, and structure. All trans-identified people have a mental disorder and need help, not hormones. They need deliverance too, spiritual deliverance. As a former transgender woman myself, and a former trans prostitute of decades, I have seen, dealt with, and befriended many of these men with sexually deviant paraphilias mentioned above. You would be shocked at just how many married, clean-cut, successful men are wearing women's panties, garters, or stockings underneath their business suits, judges' robes, uniforms, etc. I actually once had a teacher tell me that he wears bright red toenail polish and that turns him on while he's sitting in front of the children in his classroom. These men have been my clients. I know how demented they are and how demented they can be. I have personally experienced the outrage and very dangerous physical attacks of some clientele, of some of the clients, to where I thought my life would end. Situations where I actually thought I would not make it out of that room alive. I have had judges, lawyers, powerful businessmen, politicians, Hollywood actors, etc., remove their men's clothing only to reveal women's lingerie underneath. And then they want to play very dangerous sex games. Some of these men were wearing their own wives' panties and or undergarments, even their daughters. Many of them are creating bills, passing laws to protect this agenda. Some of these men have even come out as trans and put on a good act for society, remaining the tortured, perverted men that they are inside. I mean, just look at Timothy McBride, right? The rep from Delaware that's in Congress. Gosh, look at Alice Wade in New Hampshire. I wish I knew what his real name was, but another man that's perverted and tortured inside. Some of them sit next to you and vote to have parents' rights limited, advocate children being butchered by affirming care, and an array of pro-TransQueer cult activity. These men are so unstable that their judgment should be questioned on every single topic. Mentally ill individuals should not have a place in local, state, or federal government. These men should not be trusted with, around children or any vulnerable person, and they should not be around women. How many young trans identifying boys have attacked or raped a girl in a female space? How many older trans identifying men have attacked or raped a female in a female space? One is too many, right? But the already high count is still rising. How many principals in the public government school system are secretly wearing women's panties, being consistently sexually aroused as they gently and innocently rest their hand on a child's shoulder or as they pat a child on the head? What comes next? You don't want to know. How many teachers, counselors suffer from paraphilias that are going untreated as these sexually obsessive desires grow out of control? How many children sit in their classrooms being lusted after? Is this the chance anyone is willing to take? Especially during a time when pornographic, obscene materials are being presented to children in the name of art and education. The rise of educators and so-called safe adults being convicted of child sex crimes answers that. How many teachers are impressing their own trans activism on children in secret, much like some of those unparents are doing? How many judges are hearing cases of children victimized and then allowing the ruling to be influenced by a staring in their own loins as they sit on the bench wearing their wife's stockings under their robes? Because it is happening, y'all. How many women will be locked in a cell tonight with a male that identifies as trans or falls under the trans umbrella protections, that has committed heinous sex crimes against women and or children? How many of those women will be raped, impregnated, or worse? One would be too many, or should I say one is more than enough. How many politicians or lawmakers will cast their vote to further the LGBTQIA plus trans queer agenda while being enveloped in their own sexually immoral fetishes, lust, fantasies, or desires? How many of those men are wearing women's clothing? One offender told me he got off, there it is, by wearing women's nail polish on his toes just before he tried to rape a 12-year-old boy in his classroom. Listen, I don't claim to have all the answers, but this cult I know very well. I know it intimately. My proof is my past. As a registered sex offender, I can attest to the recruiting, the sex trafficking, the deviant targeting of youth that this cult is all about. As an ex-trans, ex-gay, and as a victim that spent 30 plus years enveloped in that perversion, as a man that identified as a trans woman for over 20 years, as one that has learned more about this cult than most, and as one that is ready, willing, and able to expose this dark mass of political wickedness, please take this information and utilize it. I am here to provide information that others are not. I'm only here to provide vital information to those who desire it. I know some of you live differently than I do, and we differ on ideology or religion, but please don't let that stop you from receiving what I am providing you. Amen. Folks, this is a very dangerous time for everybody, especially children. Especially children. I was having a chat with a few ladies months ago when I was on the road. I was heading to Ohio, and we got to talking about kids and school, and I mentioned Maine, and one of the women had said, "Oh, you just got a lot going on there." And I had made a statement about any parent that sends their babies off to be trained up by strangers or sacrifices their children basically to this movement is an unparent. And one of the ladies, she kind of got annoyed, and she was telling me how that's being judgmental, and that some women have no other choice. But that is a lie from the pit of hell. Anyone claiming that they don't have any other choice is not doing their due diligence and finding out all of the actual options that are available to them. See, it's time to make sacrifices for your children instead of sacrificing your children. As for being judgmental, stating the truth, which does hurt usually, is not being judgmental. It's testifying to the truth. And the only ones that think or feel that telling the truth is being judgy are the ones that are leaning into deceptions and delusions. As a Christian, and as Christians out there, yo, we supposed to be coming out from among them and being ye separate. Stop sending your babies. No, wait. Stop sacrificing your babies to the enemy of your soul. Train your own children up in the way in which they should go. It is that simple. It truly is. Lord have mercy. I hope and pray that the town of St. George will get it together, because a post that I had saw said that I don't know if I could find it, but a post that I saw said that they were going to allow this little boy to remain changing in the locker room with little girls. And how sad and unfair for that little boy and those little girls. And anyone, any of the mothers and fathers out there that allow their child to stay on a sports team with somebody of the opposite sex is an unparent and is sacrificing their children to perversion just as much as the unparent who has confused her child. Ultimately, she's a child abuser. The mother of that little boy is a child abuser. She's a groomer. She's no different than the TransQueer cultists and predators out there that are targeting children, sexualizing them, victimizing them. She's no different. I guess that's about all I got to say. Y'all have a blessed day.